You have to wave as well. Okay, start again. Start again. Hello. Hi. All right. So, welcome, guys. Today is a little bit of a change of format. We're going in for an interview centered around the subject for this week's focus, which is mindset, and in particular is change mindset. So what I thought would be quite a good idea is to get my sister, who is an undergraduate psychology student, just to give us a rundown of a few questions that I have here. So I guess let me just hand it over to you. Introduce yourself. Who are you? What do you do? Etc. Go.
So hello. People will notice that I tend to say hello exactly like Kate. My name is Lucy Penrose. I am a training psychologist with the Open University, and I am currently studying psychology and counselling at the moment. So that's kind of my shtick.
Perfect. Okay, so yes. Yeah, the one thing I have to say is do apologize for the fact that you might need to see who's speaking, because we sound exactly the same. So without further ado, we'll get started with the first questions. 5 questions coming up, with the last one being a little bit more personal. So first question is, what exactly is mindset and how does it affect your daily life?
Okay, well, to begin with, I thought it would be interesting more to go with the history of the mindset so we can understand how we've arrived here with what mindset is. And I think it's interesting to note that mindset is actually a very, very new thing in terms of human psychology and what we understand about ourselves. So I'd like to think of mindset more as the sense of self. So what is mindset? It is the belief of what you are. It is what I like to call my I ams. So I am funny, I am happy, I am, I'm charismatic, I'm charming.
Very complimentary of yourself there.
Well, we'll get into the later as to why we should be like that.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong. Okay, carry on.
So when society used to be very what's known as a sovereign power, so back when everything was ruled by the king and justice, or the queen, and justice was administered on a very local township level, there was a very sort of collectivist idea that we were one and we were one entity. But then when the Industrial Revolution happened, we went to what's known as a biopower. And the biopower is that the society is run on the individual, and that the middle class and the working class provide the power, and naturally really they have power. So this moved us away from a collectivist society to an individualistic society. And it was at this point, in the 1800s, that we actually developed this idea of thinking of ourselves as something different from the group. And we applied things like labels, and we started to see with the advent of, and then that was when psychology sort of started with Freud. So we went into this sort of state of thinking about ourselves as individual people. So from this, in the 1800s, the Freud then began to suggest that this sense of self and this mindset, if you could be something that could change and develop and could be worked on and was grown. So then as we move through into the 1900s, we see the advent of things like self-help and personal growth and things like that. And that was kind of really accelerated by marketing companies, because marketing companies realized that they could advertise to things of the self. So people who said, oh, I'm a housewife, or I'm a rebel, or I'm a bachelor. So they could then advertise towards these senses of self, these mindsets, and make money out of it. This then perpetuated the whole kind of thing of we are a self, we are a mindset, we are something that can be grown and changed and aspire to. So yes, that's kind of the history of where we're at. So really the whole sort of thing, the context of mindset was only really sort of discovered in the 1800s, really. So how our daily life, it can really bum you out. Is kind of the
truth. Why so?
So basically with suffering with say a mindset, it can really affect your happiness levels. So there's I can never say this, I've written it down in my notes, panopticon. I might have to check that. Yeah. That is the idea of a psychologist called Bantham, which was all about self-monitoring. And so how our mindset affects our daily life is that it encourages us to self-monitor all the time. And self-monitoring is the way that we basically, I should really explain this better. When we aspire towards something, or we feel that we are something, our aims, we will then, self-monitor to make sure that we're adhering towards those I ams. So say if your I am is I am fashionable, you will self-monitor to the point where you encourage yourself to stick to that label. And this can be great if that gives you happiness, but if you are failing to aspire to your I am, and you're not fulfilling your I am, then this self-monitoring can make you feel quite negative. And that, with the mixture of what we know from marketing, and that, you know, this thing of like attainable happiness, and if you buy this product and if you buy this you'll be happy, and if you do this 6 times a day you'll be happy. This mixture, Cohen and Cohen found in 1996 that at certain points it doesn't matter how much you attain materially, it's your mindset that is actually what will make you happy. Is that clear or unclear?
Yeah, no, it is clear. So let me just go through so I see if that I'm correct in my understanding. So in terms of mindset, it's good to have to nurture a fluid mindset rather than a fixed mindset towards an ideal. And that without those restrictions comes less anxiety and stress.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So
as long as you self-monitoring, it's good to be aware that you are self-monitoring, because this is something that the self-monitoring is what will cause you to have a bad mindset about something. So if you are aware of it and you're happy in that label, then that's fine. But it's just something that you should always be aware of, is that you're monitoring yourself.
Yes. Okay, yes, that's what I was going to say, because obviously it's always a balance between not being at one end of the extreme, so not being completely devoid of having any connection to any specific mindset, but also not too much of the other way, because obviously that's part of your identity. It's just when it does go to the extremes, I guess, with everything, that's when you should be mindful that it might be having a detrimental effect on your everyday life.
Yeah.
It's just about
like labels are good in some respects, like you say, when they're not taken to extreme. So labels can provide things like community people, they can provide identity for people, you can find a group of familiar people using your label, saying well, I mean, we find this with the LGBTQ plus community, is that having that label provides them a family, a social aspect, support, people who may be going through the same thing as them. So labels can be good. It's when they make you unhappy that they're bad.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's move on to our second question. Our second question is, why is change not easy for everyone?
Okay, so prerequisites to this. There is a lot of self-help books and, you know, change your life in 60 days sort of thing that goes on. Majority of the work that is written is not based in any scientific fact. It is based in opinion.
Right.
So I'll be working with what psychology has said is what they're kind of offering to improvement and change.
Yeah,
so
because I think it is important to note that that I don't think it's a discredit for anyone that doesn't approach it from a scientific perspective. So if someone wants to approach it from a more spiritual perspective, I think all things in a way are valid, but it's just obviously you're going to be more specific towards the scientific proof because that's where you're approaching it from. But and then everyone will connect more with the different angles. So I think it's important to say that not obviously science comes from that fact and proof side, but if it helps to keep you more emotionally I don't know, like
well, there are certain things like I was going to get onto this later, but there are certain things that that are scientifically supported. My whole thing, if it works for you, great. Like, it doesn't, you know, you could be shoving cotton wool up your nose, and if that makes you feel better and you've been able to, you know, give up smoking, and it's not harming anybody or yourself, then it works. You know, it shouldn't have to change. I just think this is stuff that has been trialed and supported, and so maybe information that will be useful to people because this has got some support behind it.
Yeah.
So why is it not easy for people to make a change? So there are two kind of offerings from the psychological world, and that is positive psychology, the field of positive psychology, and the field of critical psychology. And they sound like juxtapositions, but they're actually very intertwined. So I'll start with critical psychology and then I'll move to positive. So critical psychology suggests that through many studies that a lot of what is offered in sort of self-help books and things like that is not statistically proven work. And this can have a detrimental effect because people try to do what is suggested in these works, and then it doesn't work for them. And then they become disillusioned and they become upset, and then they chastise and they think, well, if I can't do it because of that, then I can't do it.
Yeah, so, I think that's something that pretty much everybody can relate to on some level.
Yeah. If it didn't work, then I can't. Then it must be something beyond me.
Yeah, or it's directly related to me. You know, like.
Yeah, it's my thing. So that brings us to things like internal locus of control and external locus of control. And an internal locus of control is the belief that you have control over your ability for your actions. Mm-hmm. So things like, I'd say the AA 12-step program, it very much focuses on things like you can make the change because you are in charge.
Yeah.
Whereas the external locus of control is the belief that you are passive and things are done to you. So I think it can be hard for people to make a change because if you have if you have a high external locus of control, and that can be true, like that is one of the things that really needs to be highlighted when people don't find it easy to make a change. Things like economic structure, you know, class, societal values are huge. You know, if you're a very rich person, you're going to find it easier to lose weight because you can afford to buy the higher quality food. Whereas if you're in a financial difficult situation, it's not going to be as easy for you.
Yeah.
So one thing that is something that is often not, that critical psychology likes to bring, is that actually we need to take into account societal values as well as things like that. But so many studies suggest that if you have a high internal locus of control, so you believe that you
are driving the ship, yeah,
you are more likely to change.
Right.
But that can be hard. Sure. But that can be hard. Because of the reasons that I said, that sometimes things are thrust upon you, and that is what happens.
So you did like to be that person that just was there, and it all comes towards you, and you think, I got it, it's fine, it's good, it's fine, it's fine, it's good, I'm fine. But I think that that even a lot of us that do have the ability to work through these things internally have to sometimes allow that balance to, and that also, or kind of vulnerability, because I think people are always, a lot of us are quite no, I'm fine, I've got it, it's okay. Yeah. And then when you think, well, actually that external situation is a hell of a situation. Yeah. So you are, no matter what, like, you are going to be affected by that, no matter how strong internal mindset is. So I think it's, again, maybe more so recently than before. I think when maybe we were growing up, this wasn't spoken about, but that comes into the part of people being able to speak up and admit that their external influences are maybe too much to handle in terms of change, and that by doing that doesn't make them weak.
No, not at all. So there are the critical psychology. It's interesting that you're raising these points, because we will get onto that. There's been 2 points.
Because I think so alike. That's why.
So the critical psychology basically says that people with sort of low self-esteem, we also have to take into account self-esteem, and that so Wood et al. In 2009 did an experiment on positive affirmations, which was, they got a group of high self-esteem and low self-esteem people to write a list of positive affirmations about themselves. And they found that the low self-esteem group, they were more unhappy after repeating these affirmations out loud. And that's something that is very commonly suggested when we try to make a change in our lives, is we're told, oh, just say out loud the best thing about you, and the thing. But actually, there are deeper roots into the relationship that you have with yourself. There is in order to make a change, you need a really good solid foundation, and the really good solid foundation, we'll get to ways of helping that, but a really good solid foundation is having a good relationship with yourself, a positive relationship with yourself, which is not always easy. So the critical psychology basically says, we have to take into account social situations and also self-esteem issues that may be happening before you can go about making a change. Whereas positive psychology has thrown this into the ring, where they said that, again, they highlighted that material gain and the pursuit of material gain will mean you're actually less likely to be fulfilled and happy. And those people that pursue a self-growth will more likely be happy. And then they've also found that how you focus on your negative experience. So Lubramersky in 2011 released a paper on how those who think negatively of experiences and think of negative experiences quite a lot, it actually physically impedes their performance. So this kind of weird mix of understanding, I'd say, why it's not easy for people, just to sum up, why it's not easy for people to make a change is the amount of external control you have, the amount of that you believe you have control of, the way you feel about yourself, and also the way that you think of these experiences. So we'll get onto this of like how you treat this, but because there's a thing known as thought ranging, and these negative experiences, if you think of those and you focus on those, they will actually impede you in the long run. And what you're trying to change and grow, if you're trying to grow for yourself for that reason, you're more likely to do it. Whereas if you're trying to change for a physical or material or other person, then less likely to do it.
That's like, obviously, well, it's that saying, isn't it, that you can't help anyone else until you help yourself, and to be the best person for other people, you have to be the best for yourself first. But that's like obviously super interesting, and I certainly learned a lot. I was like glued to my screen like this in between my coffees. Cool. All right, so excellent. Shall we move on to the next question?
Yes. These are more...
Say again.
My next points are more kind of concise than being a bit like that.
I think the first questions are a little bit more open-ended anyways. Okay, so question number 3, contestant number 1. If we want to make a change, what is one thing we can do to initiate and to prevent procrastination? Yeah, so that question's a little bit more specific anyway. So yeah, if we want to make a change, what is one thing that we can do to initiate and to help prevent procrastination? Because I know that a lot of people, especially clients that I speak to, it's a lot about just getting the ball rolling and then starting to nurture the mindset and the habits that will feed that positive change. So yes, over to you.
Okay, so this, I'm going to break the rules and I'm going to give you more than one.
Okay.
So and I'm also going to throw something in there that when I was reading about this, I was very surprised. But this is what the research has thrown up.
So get your surprise pants on, everybody.
Get your surprise pants on. Okay, so statistically, in repeated tests, so this is the science behind it, Ottengand, spelt like a dyslexic's nightmare, found that those people who visualize losing weight statistically do not lose any weight compared to those who don't. They lose less weight.
Okay, that's really interesting.
Those who visualize that they're going to have this really productive week and they visualize in their head, do not, compared to those who do, that like don't have a productive week compared to those who do. And these are 3 separate studies that were repeated with meta-analysis as well. So they're very
that's what I was going to say, is that obviously when we're looking at any of these things of research, you still have to take each one of them at face value. But when it's repeated and proven over, and then people do a meta-analysis, which is taking all of those researches and then writing up analysis of them all combined together, I mean, you can't ignore that, can you?
And those who visualize, who spend their time visualizing how they're going to do these things, tend to have a lower energy in achieving the task.
Interesting.
So I think this part of procrastination is part of the procrastination is the imagining of you actually doing the task.
Right. Yes. Living too much inside here. I know that I probably sit like further towards the end of the spectrum on that. And I feel like obviously everyone likes to say that they procrastinate, but I'm such a procrastinator, and we probably all are to a certain extent by human nature. Yeah, there has to be some kind of like, I mean, this is me, don't take this as research, but I feel like somewhere evolutionarily procrastination must exist for a reason, you know. You can look into that.
I'll tell you, procrastination, so the visualization aspect is an evolutionary one of trying to plan ahead for disasters to save our lives. So you know, trying to plan a journey and visualize what you would do in all the different situations, so that if they occur, you will be able to save your life, basically. So it's kind of a hangover.
That's exactly what I meant.
Yeah. So but yeah, so one thing to initiate and prevent procrastination. So Zimbardo, and I really encourage you, Zimbardo is like my favorite psychologist, which is such a nerdy thing to say.
I did do A-level psychology, but only the first year, and so and I was so terrible at it because I can't remember the name. So I don't know. Well, no, you've always had a photographic memory, like scripts and stuff. So I could not remember the names of anyone. I could write down all of the research, but then they just wouldn't give it to me because they couldn't tell you who did it. It would have been, I don't know, like I could have said it was John who owns the garage down the end. Like, that's the only. Yeah, he's pretty good as a psychologist, actually.
He makes some good points.
He makes solid points, and then you tell him just to fill your car up and then move along. Anyways, back to the point.
But yeah, yes, that we are. I would encourage anybody to look at Zimbardo's TED Talks. He does some great TED Talks. But Zimbardo suggests that we are, as humans, you are either past orientated, present orientated, or future orientated. Now, a lot of people focus on, I was very future orientated, and a lot of people focus on the future. Next week I'm going to lose, I don't know, say I'm going to lose 2 pounds and gain a load of muscle mass. Like, you know, I'm planning for that, and I'm dreaming of that, and I'm procrastinating that. But as we found from Ottengard studies, focusing on that in the future and is actually preventing you from doing it in the now.
Yeah.
So we got down to at the end, one thing to initiate and prevent procrastination is to not think about it, is to do it. which is not to try and drum up all this kind of, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to go, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it. It's not to try and drum up that momentum. It's just to start it.
Yeah.
So don't plan ahead for like, okay, Tuesday I'll go to the gym on Tuesday, and then on Thursday I'll go to the gym, and that, because you're less likely to achieve it. Just wake up one morning and go, I've got a few hours, I'm going to go. I'm just going to go.
Yeah.
Play on that instinct, because and don't think, oh, well, you know, I'm going to do that every day, because then you're planning ahead. Happens to be a Thursday, you happen to have 6 hours off, let's say, or, you know, in quarantine, all the hours off. So just do it. And then don't promise yourself that you will do it again. Just do it. Just don't promise yourself, because then if you don't do it, you'll chastise yourself, and then you'll be less likely to do it. So Nike product placement, just do it. They were kind of right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I think that really does fit in with what I try and get people to do in terms of sustainability as well. Is not to do that overthinking thing too much.
Yeah.
You know, it is what it is, and we have plans. We definitely have plans, but it's not. It's yeah. Well, I can't really. I don't really know what I would say about that. Like, I always have these ideas. When you say it and you put it into words, I'm like, that's what I mean. That's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I totally agree with that. So on that note, right. Cool.
Yeah.
Actually, that kind of links into what I was going to
Yeah.
say. Question number 4, which is, how do we make change sustainable? Which I guess it does kind of link from what you just say. Once you've started and got the ball rolling, is not to repeat that same behavior of thinking, you know, I'll do this week. Like, it's really just, I know this is when the side of me that comes over. I say to people, well, you do have to listen to your body, and then people say, well, I can't trust my body, and I'm like, well, I don't think you've really given it. Huh?
You can trust your body. Your body and your brain are interlinked.
Yeah, exactly. You are your brain and your brain is your body.
You are your body.
Yes, so I'll hand it back to you because you are far more eloquent than me. So how do we make these changes more sustainable?
Okay, so this is rooting back into a lot of the stuff that you brought up earlier in the chat, because and it was an interesting thing that you raised when you were saying about, you know, if a lot of people find spiritually, if that helps. I was going to say, I'm not poo-pooing that. There is, so number one thing, and I've written it in my notes in capital letters, is mindfulness. So that is the practice of being present and accepting all that is around you. All, and the key word is all that is around you. Yeah. So Kate Williams in 2007 found that meditation and mindfulness helped alleviate anxiety, stress, depression, and even pain relief. It was a form of pain relief. Yeah. So mindfulness and meditation, I like to describe it as, I like to describe it as the bravest thing a person can do, because when we are in any state, mindfulness and meditation and good mindfulness and good practice is sitting in your emotions, not wallowing, but sitting back in your emotions and accepting that this is how you feel and this is what is going on around you. Not pushing it away, not shoving it away, not wallowing, not focusing in and allowing a narrative to construct, but letting it pass by, but sitting in it confidently and securely. And that is, I think, the bravest thing that someone can do, because very often we will do anything as humans to distract ourselves, you know, to focus on another thing, and to chastise ourselves and to really torture and think, oh God, happiness, and I should be happy and I should be this and I should be that. But actually sitting back and going, okay, this is everything, is the bravest thing that anyone can do.
So sort of how we're making that sustainable again is, so you've made the change, so you've gotten over the procrastination thing, say you're in the first stages of whatever habit or mindset that is you want to change, is basically again is sitting with any of the positive and negative feedback that you've had from how that change has already happened, because I feel that obviously it's hard enough to start a change or a switch in your mindset, but if you start to fixate on those negative emotions, maybe something happened that you've never experienced before, but it was a negative experience with it, then that's likely just going to make you fall away from
well
you've made.
I also have some assistance with negative experience that may prevent you from making a change. And it's from a critical psychologist called Berkman. And it's the form of what's known as negative thinking therapy. Now, it sounds negative, but it's not.
Sounds like a whole heap of negatives.
But it's actually a really useful tool in aiding people to make a change.
Okay, so it's ironically negative then.
Yeah, well, it's
no,
what
I'll let you continue. I'll let you continue. Explain what it is, and then it will all make sense.
So it's about embracing the worst scenario and being okay with it. So again, it goes into this sense of mindfulness. So Berkman did a lot of research, and he used to send people on the tube to and make them say really loudly the names of all the tube stops, really, really loudly. And
well, I do that. Isn't that normal? I do that anyway. And Wilston Green.
But it's a way of making people learn that it's okay and accepting negatives and positives in the world. It's a way of basically going, oh, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. And
I mean, right. I'm gonna interject with the personal experience of maybe how I interpret that. So I think what lots of people know, and lots of people themselves probably can relate, I had IBS for, like, obviously you know that I did, for many years, and it used to be so anxiety inducing that at any time I could really need the toilet. And I was thinking, if I suddenly needed the toilet and I had an accident on the tube, that would be, and it would just go crazy. And then I think it was happening, and then it all went downhill. And then I just thought one day, I sat there and I was like, well, if actually happened, like if it happened to someone else opposite me, like I'd be like, oh my God, are you okay? Like, can I help you? Do you need any? Like, so if it actually happened, the worst scenario that, like, I'm still happy and with an accident, like, is it funny? And maybe not in the moment, but definitely a good story afterwards.
Yeah.
But
that's engaging.
Once I was okay with that scenario, it just kind of poof,
Yeah.
I get, I'm gonna say, is it a technical way of saying that I don't give a fuck?
Yeah. It is. It's going, actually, I can handle anything. Right. I can handle things. And I think that when we make a change or try and make a change to our life, this can be quite anxiety inducing, because say if you're, for example, you're on a diet, you can get quite anxious about, oh, it's so and so's birthday coming up, and oh God, and I'm just gonna, I don't know, I'm gonna eat all the cake, not just a slice. I'm gonna eat the entire cake. Been there, and and the thing is that whole construction of this negative narrative is like, oh God, it's going on. Whereas actually, if you just go, so what? So what if I eat the cake?
I mean, yeah, to be honest, so what if I eat the cake? Yeah, I'm eating a whole cake.
I'll have a great time doing it. So what? And it's this thing of, actually then you'll be less likely, because you won't have the fixation on this problem. You'll
it's a bit more transient.
Yeah, and it's about being more free, like we spoke before.
Comfortable comfortable in the idea of the unknown.
Yeah, and it'll make you more present. As Bardo said, we are past, future, and present orientated. People in the future tend to be more agitated and more anxious about what's going to happen, and they try and plan and they try and focus. And as we know from on-guard studies, that doesn't work. So this whole thing of addressing negative scenarios and thinking of scenarios that, actually we're okay, we'll be all right in this scenario, and doing this thinking practice will actually make you more present orientated, which is where you want to be, because then you're going to just, you're not going to plan, you're not going to chastise, you're not going to visualize this idealized version of yourself in your head. You're going to just be in the present, dealing with situations as they come. And then the final thing is, well, not final thing,
Final one on this point.
yeah, there's the recrafting experiences. So this is from positive psychology, and this is basically learning to rethink situations using your skill set. So there's an example of
I'm really good. I'm quite good at cross stitching. Is that?
Well,
don't tell me that's gonna work. All right, go on, enlighten me. Where's the surprise pants? Oh, the vision. We've had that already. Sorry, carry on.
But you were worrying that you were going to poop your surprise pants. Seagull, they've all got really hard names that I just read and I never really
say them out loud.
In 2011, conducted a load of studies with students about recrafting their experiences. And there's one particular case study that exemplifies what he was doing very well. And that was with a waitress who hated her job. And tips were awful and she just hated it. And he did a whole few weeks of getting people to identify their strengths and really focusing on, and again, this goes back to the locus of control, the erasing that high internal locus of control, and then saying, okay, let's try and use those skills and flip the negative situation into a positive one. So you're really good at talking. So why not chat away to the customers? And she found that when she started to use things that she found positive herself about her strengths, when she started using those in her everyday, in her waitressing job, she actually found that she started to enjoy the job more and the tips were higher. So there was actually numerical proof that there was something that had changed from her thinking. And she was happier in her work. So this is good in making a change, because when you want to make that change, you can identify strengths, your abilities and your qualities, increase that internal locus of control and attribute them to your situation that you're doing, which means that you're more likely to, say, if you hate the gym, find strengths in your life or positives in your life. So say, I love the music of the 80s. So whenever I go to the gym, I exercise to Olivia Newton-John.
Right.
So
whatever it takes.
So you can bring those positives into an environment and find a negative one, then you're more likely to enjoy it. So you're more likely to sustain it. And then the final thing, I know I've gone on for ages, but the final thing is, one of the key things in building self-esteem and building positivity and building locus of control is to achieve things. So that is the final thing I would say on sustainability, is that if you try and focus in the present, you're mindful, you meditate on what you're going through, the positives and the negatives, you bring the strength you have into your life, being mindful of maybe things, illnesses such as depression or anxiety. They're very real in making a change. These are something that we should be aware of. They are an external locus of control. But once you manage to bring in all of these practices of just focusing on the good and the bad and the bringing them in and not chastising yourself and loving yourself for that package, then you, fingers crossed, you'll be then accomplishing things, and you'll be like, oh, I haven't smoked for 2 weeks, or oh, I can now run a mile, or oh, I haven't yelled at anybody for 2 days, or something like that. Once you begin to accomplish, this is clinically proven to build self-esteem, and our self-esteem is what keeps going. Right. So that is kind of, so to make change finally sustainable is the more you accomplish, the more you will accomplish. But don't plan.
But don't plan. No plans. I guess it is again about there's just so many so many factors that do come together, but they all affect each other at some point. And so it's about working on all of those little individual bits, I guess, and not focusing too much on one thing. Again, that's probably goes against the plan thing anyway. Yes, so excellent. So that was question number 4. So let's move on to our final question, which is the more personal question. So question number 5 is, what is one positive change you have made in the last 6 months that has become a permanent feature in your everyday life?
Okay, this one, anyone will know that that as actually, and Kate, you do this as well, it's something I've actively tried to do over the last 6 months, is actively laughing at myself, as in openly laughing at myself when I mess up, and trying to make myself laugh.
Right.
So sometimes I will do a silly dance on my own just to make myself laugh. And sometimes I will, if I ever mess anything up, calling yourself a silly Billy is quite good. And
obviously, being mindful that you don't go for too harsh.
No. It's all with the focus of making yourself laugh.
Right, yeah.
So calling yourself a butterhead is quite funny. And telling yourself jokes and doing silly things to make yourself laugh. I think that's something that I've actually has found really increased a positive relationship with myself. It sounds really weird, but it means that I quite enjoy my own company. I find myself quite funny.
Well, that's very useful for the current situation.
Very useful for the current situation. And if other people are in on the joke, that's just fine. But if it is just me, that's okay.
That's all good.
Yeah, so I think laughter and not taking yourself too seriously and being present in the moment is the key thing to, I say that's sort of one of the key things to happiness, as well as good chemical balance. But yeah, as well as good serotonin levels. So yeah, I would say,
which is also another subject that I will be covering at some point, which will be sleep, and then in the sleep subject there will be serotonin, and so yeah, we'll come back to that after. Just a small plug. Okay, let's go.
Most of your serotonin's made in your gut.
It's made in your nuts, I presume, not your nuts. What you said.
In your gut.
In your gut. I thought you said nuts. I mean, they are a gland, and they do make very, very important hormones, but serotonin is not made in your testicles.
It's not made in your nuts.
It's made in your gut. Okay.
In your gut. But yeah, so I've actively started trying to laugh at myself when I mess up.
You make mistakes.
And just kind of sitting in them and going, no, that was a mistake. Oh well.
Yeah, I think I can definitely relate to that, being very, very, very harsh critic of myself. I do believe in when mistakes are your mistake. I do believe in taking the appropriate, if we've made some serious mistakes, I start laughing, that's probably not the best and most professional way to go about it. On those things which used to, like, I think with things being like embarrassing or stuff like that was connected to like everyday anxieties, that I just like, okay, well, that's funny, you know. And especially things to do with like maybe like my personal appearance and things, you know. I think most of it's quite funny now. Like, you know, when you're sat at home, you look at yourself and you think, gosh, I've been in isolation for far too many days.
Everyone draw a mustache on for the entertainment of strangers. So
Yeah,
it's
I need to definitely wash my hair. Uh, it's a good job I always wear my hair up in a ponytail. So it's a good job the screen cuts off here. I've done that.
Well, you're lucky. I washed my hair just specially for today.
Oh, I'm honoured. I'm honoured. And everyone else should be honoured. That is the most important thing that you brought to this conversation was a clean
I love it.
Okay, cool. So excellent. I guess that wraps up our interview. So I mean, I'll probably see you soon. But for anybody else, do you want to give a plug of any sort?
Oh, well, myself and my housemates every morning do what we call have a coffee with us for people in isolation or people who feel quite lonely and just need a bit of a laugh in the morning. So
which is usually always just me. No, not just me, but I'm always there.
You're always there. So what we do a bit of a check-in, we pour a coffee, we draw a mustache on ourselves, we do what we call a mundane quiz. So we've had bananas, tarmacking, radiators was today. We've had various topics, and I quiz Emma on them. And then we do sort of a Pictionary round, which we encourage you to do at home, and then send us your favourite thing about said radiator, tractor, tarmacking. And then we name our mustaches at the end. So it's at 10:30 on my live stream or Emma's live stream.
And what is your Instagram handle? Oh, well, I will tag
it. Lucy C. Penrose. Don't miss out the C in between.
Okay. Don't miss out the C, otherwise it would just be two countries next to each other.
Don't miss out the C, otherwise it's a D.
Clever. Oh, well, on that note, everybody, our time has come to an end, very sadly, but hopefully I'll get to do some more of these with some other people. So thank you so much, Lucy.
Thank you.
And I'll see everybody very soon. Wave goodbye.
Bye.
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 Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.